Okay, I had to pause it. And so continuing from the other video concerning the I can't breathe in George Floyd and the situation they keep me in, which are basically conditions that will destroy your ability to breathe and eventually very possibly end you. I don't question that that's established here. I've been trying to get justice and that sort of thing for 5 years or 6 years, possibly going on 7 now. And and I mean, it's just costed me a lot. And then of course, you know, I have the persecution thing going on before that, but this is likely part of that, because like I say, it lines up with the George Floyd event very well, with my circumstances and George Floyd's circumstances seem very connected, and the outcomes and the details of the George Floyd event really seem to have a connection to me. And in Minnesota, it also appears in my situation, and I don't question likely many others, that they may also have influence in the property management area. I don't question they have influence in the property management area, and I don't question they have influence in the legal system, even including the private legal offices and firms. So I don't question, I don't question. I have some bits of information that would support that. Very solid. Including one where the lawyer that allegedly is suing the city of Minneapolis for $18 million, which is not worth even a fraction of what they've done to me alone, seems to be some sort of an escape or an out for the city of Minneapolis, or a trial run. You know, they're just basically suing over, like, you know, maybe loose tile, or, you know, something, maybe a broken light switch. You know, at least impliedly that's what it seems. They're not going after these people for basically human right violations and hazardous living conditions that they've been aware of likely for decades. And the building's like 50 years old. Dilapidation has occurred likely within the past 20 years or so, maybe 20 or 30 years. These things maybe started to fall apart fairly quickly after they were built. In a way that is very harmful. 4 people have died, 3 on my floor and 1 on the floor beneath me in just the last few months. 2 in about the past month. I got pictures of them. 1 was just laid out on the floor outside the elevator. The other one they took away in a bag on a stretcher. But I'm saying I did not see these people die, and I don't have proof of their death, but impliedly they are deceased, and I was told that the other 2 people also were deceased. 3 of them were on my floor, and 3 of them were basically on my side of the building. And this one underneath on the floor downstairs, they were also on my side of the building. So it's, and you know, like I said in my blog that I don't question Trump is involved. He was the first person that I recall saying I can't breathe, concerning Amy Klobuchar, who's the senator whose office that I have been contacting about matters that they've never done anything about. They basically never even replied to me until I called there and demanded somebody to talk to somebody, and this was, you know, I made it very clear that I was going to go to the Human Rights Office and report them. Not that that would help, but I made it that clear that maybe the person who was talking to me on the phone may not know that the Human Rights Office is also likely in their, you know, group of cohorts involved in the persecution of, you know, and suffering of people in order to get away with it. So they may have not have known that, and they've got somebody to call me back, and that person has basically just strung me along. I asked for the people who they contacted, the office names and the personnel, and they've refused to give it to me. People are likely corrupt. Amy Klobuchar is likely involved. Most of the politicians are likely involved. I don't question a lot of them are. Tim Walz, I don't question he got chosen to be vice presidential candidate because he's, you know, he is also, his office has also been negligent in doing anything about this matter. And so has Keith Ellison. And all of those people were likely the people that they named in these fraud cases that came up after that, concerning Feeding Our Future and Medicare and all that. So it's like what they did, what they appear to be doing, is they appear to be tying these people, putting these people in a position where they're being examined, but they're not being examined for the right reasons, in front of, or almost anybody. When they're allowed to go in front of these, like judiciary committees or, you know, boards or panels, it appears that's their, you know, their punishment, or, you know, that is what they're going to do, present that to the people to make it appear that there's some system of justice in place. Legitimate. You know, or righteous. I don't know if legitimate is the right word. And it's likely there's not. That these people are likely all playing these characters. They're seeing who is trying to get away with what and deciding who does get away with what, apparently. And all they have to do is kind of berate them a little bit in public, and that's their apparent punishment. Nothing really to follow up with after that. And you know, oftentimes the things that they're discussing are really not the important issue. And so these are the things that they're basically trying to keep out of the minds of the people. That it's likely one grand deception, from the government to the media to the education system to the local states and cities, that they're likely all kind of colluding with even the private sector. This is like real fascism, where they don't just join together in some nice way, you know, to run things and cooperate. They're joined together to get away with more crimes and offenses. And like I said, the legal system seems like they're completely in on it. No law firm has even given me the offer to get involved. And the ones that I've attempted to contact, and there's been many, all give me this basic same routine. But watch out, there's a statute of limitations. You know, they seem to really care about the fact that I'm good. I need to know that there's a statute of limitations to something that they refuse to assist me with. And the other possibility is that they're also involved in these property management companies, where they, if you try to get an apartment like me, when I try to get an apartment, they basically have a limited selection, and then as I get there, I find out it's even worse than possibly than what I have. Even worse. And so when I did find one that was very high price, but I wanted to get out of there so bad and possibly hurry up and get my job back, the day I went to sign the lease, they had a rent increase and put it out of my ability to afford it if I wanted anything else, like food or medicine, which is costing me a lot as well, that they don't pay for, and they don't tell me how to take it off my rent, because none of these people want to assist me in any way. From what it looks like, I have none whatsoever. No assistance from anybody. As a matter of fact, the only advice most of them give me is bad advice. And that's the basic general principle of what these people seem to be about, is give your enemies the worst life you can possibly get away with. And that's what they do. So as I looked into the rental thing, there was another one that I applied for that I actually qualified for. They did not even allow me to use that qualification to put in my application. They wanted me to wait until I turned qualified for their senior housing and then put in my application. Well, when I did that just last month, as it turned out, there are 62 people ahead of me, and that's very likely years upon years of waiting for that apartment. And apartments are like houses. When are you ever going to move if you don't have to? I stayed in that apartment that had the terrible water for 15 years or 16 years, and I didn't care. Where was I gonna go? And although I did try to get away a couple times, it didn't seem to pan out. But I wasn't why would I move if I'm not you know, suffering greatly like I am now? You know, I was just waiting for a time to find a way to better myself and continue on, but that was not in play. These people seem to have already had me in their prison for the past 20 years. I mean, they will smile at you and be destroying you, you know, at the same time, and which they do to other people too. But these people, I don't question how they were keeping me out of the getting my job back. Other places that I applied were rejecting me for basically no reason. I had plenty of qualifications, And so that might be another field I don't question that they're operating in. Because they were not going to let me go. They were going to keep me poor. They were going to keep me in their concentration camp. And they're going to terrorize and torture me. And that's what they do. And that's what they've been doing for 20 years now. 6 of them to the point where I've been close to death now on multiple occasions. And at least, you know, one in critical care, and then other times when I was out and I almost couldn't go any further. Horrible, horrible situations. And when I say horrible, I mean horrible. I don't mean like, oh, it just wasn't going well. I mean, it was really bad. And so, you know, that's how they also entertain themselves. I don't question that. I would ride barely alive, ride my bike by, and I would see like the police just sitting there watching me, keeping an eye on me, like they're just watching me suffer, entertaining themselves. And I was suffering too. And that's basically how they do it. Then you got the people that I didn't really mention, but the transit. You know, I may have mentioned before that I don't question they're working with the cops. They put these people on the train with me to, you know, try to incite me or to do something or act a certain way where they could take advantage of that. And so the transit people used to sit outside my window at the apartment that put me in critical care. I used to look out and see their trucks sitting there, and I just didn't really pay that much attention to it. Well, maybe since their office was like a block down, maybe they were taking a break or something, but I don't question they were keeping an eye on me too. This whole state is basically corrupt. If people don't understand what that means, they should maybe consider that it's nearly completely corrupt. I mean, every aspect of this state is nearly completely corrupt. And that's why I said, if as Christians, and I'm a Christian leader, I am basically the one I don't question that's going to be in the leadership role of getting Christians to exodus from these people. I'm not saying we're going to give up technologies and that sort of thing, but I'm saying we're going to have to come out from among these people and be separate. Which a lot of these false churches and places like that have been allowing to continue, possibly because they were not the ones that were chosen to lead the exodus where I might be. I am likely that person. And they may know I'm that person. And that's why a lot of them aren't giving me any recognition and acknowledging me in any way formally. So, you know, as I was mentioning before about the military, how are the military paid for by the same people that are basically corrupt running this government? You're going to tell me a force, the only force that's likely able to take them out and bring them to justice is paid by them? Their finances are controlled by them? That's probably not the best system. And so when I say we either have to maybe start the exodus from the people in this world, but we may also have to co-opt these systems that are already in place, including the military, or have access to these companies that build these weapons, who should also be under some sort of oversight by our group as well. And we have to remove ourselves from the company of these wicked people, and they don't mind. I'm almost, from what it appears, I don't question, they're very okay with that. Some of them might be very okay with it. They want their own world and they want to do what they want to do. The only part they might be concerned about is if their system has some sort of a glitch in it, if we end up going away and they don't have something that they might have had previously or relied upon. Because I'm telling you, these people are buying it all up. They're buying up the food, they're buying up the land, they're running the cities and the states like the mafia. They're presenting crimes against humanity like they were a walk in the park. And then they're also appearing to have these two-party or multi-party systems, which even God says a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. And one will say whatever irritates the other side, and the other side apparently says whatever irritates the other side, and it just keeps going back and forth, and they just keep, you know, moving everybody further down the road of life until they're too old, and then they can replace themselves with their minions, and the people will just begin anew, and it'll just continue to basically replenish itself. So like I say, it's time to go away from these people, man, for once and for all. These people are certainly not of God's kingdom, because I'm here to set that up. And they seem very standoffish, at least. More like hiding, like Revelation 6, where they flee to the mountains and to the rocks and the dens and say, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sitteth upon the throne. They don't mind if I see them. They just don't want to have to see me. And that's basically what they got with this internet and, you know, communication type environment we have now, where most of it, a lot of their platforms are digital, you know, electronic. So I can see them, but they don't have to see me. And those rocks and mountains and that sort of thing that they wanted to fall on them, I've basically already mentioned that those are likely some of these various organizations or platforms or anything that represents some sort of a stability that they can hide in, that they can have cover them up. And that's internet for sure. Just to kind of paraphrase it. So, you know, basically say goodbye to your government and say hello to the kingdom of God. And that's how it's going to possibly have to be for everybody. They have turned this house into a den of thieves. 100, well, close to 100%. I did not know that historically, you know, America's had some interesting characters, but many of them today seem like they're basically criminals, and they participate in persecuting God's people, me especially, because I don't question they know I'm the #1 God's people. So they're having their way with me, and nobody seems to be willing to stop them. Why would any of these fake Christian people be willing to stop them? Sacrifice their payments that they might get from YouTube or whatever platform, if they're making money from is giving them. I question that. And these ones that use God's name have a form of godliness. You know, the other ones, big name influencers. I've attempted to contact many of them, you know, that they're allowing to, basically they're allowing these people to have what they have and likely giving them this sure thing for their compliance and non-assistance in my matter. They're bought with a price, and apparently salvation is not enough. So I want to leave that right there. I could get more into the, you know, how corrupt the whole system is, you know, and how Trump, since he was the first one that actually said, that I'm aware actually said I can't breathe, talking about Amy Klobuchar, who actually is from Minnesota, who is my representative, who's absolutely done nothing for me. Recently, over the many years, recently they've interacted with me, and they've basically just appeared to sell me out to the people that are persecuting me already. Tim Walz, their office, never gave me a moment of response, and then they were picked to be vice president. Jacob Fry, in my opinion, he's well aware of what's going on. He campaigned at my apartment, and I told him about the first apartment because that's when I first moved in to that building that I'm in now, and it seemed to just be ignored by him then, and it's still being ignored by him now.